It's a confusing time to be a Democrat in this country. If you're a good Democrat, you spent the last 3 years learning about how Donald Trump and everyone who supports him is a racist. They represent the past, backward ideas headed for the dustbin of history. You, by contrast, in your party, the Democratic Party, supports progress and decency and equality. But if you're a Democrat, the news this week might have confused you. Your party's top presidential candidate is Joe Biden, who was vice president for Barack Obama. He must be a good person, by definition. But wait, now if you turn on CNN or MSNBC, you will see a new official story. Joe Biden, it turns out, was a racist all along. It all began with remarks Biden made at a fundraiser in New York City. He lamented that politics in America used to be more civil, and he cited his past relationships with pro-segregation lawmakers like Mississippi Democrat Senator Jim Eastland. Biden said, quote, "I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland. He never called me boy. He always called me son." Biden pointed to another segregationist, Georgia Democrat Herman Talmadge, and said, quote, "We didn't agree on much of anything, but we got things done." Out of nowhere, Biden's statement aroused the wrath of Senator Spartacus, Cory Booker of New Jersey. Booker accused Biden of giving cover to racism and white supremacy and demanded an immediate apology. Biden refused to apologize, though, and said instead Booker should apologize to him. Watch.
How does it feel that your Democratic rivals are implicitly saying you have issues talking about race?
They know better.
Are you going to apologize? Like, Cory Booker
Apologize for what?
Cory Booker's called for it.
Cory should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period.
I'm not a racist, so Joe Biden. Of course, the second he said that, Cory Booker already won. Biden is the Democratic frontrunner. Booker, to put it mildly, is not. In fact, you need a powerful microscope to detect Booker's support. Booker can only benefit from fighting with Joe Biden, so of course he went straight to CNN to continue the feud.
For his posture to be to me, "I've done nothing wrong, you should apologize, I'm not a racist," is so insulting and so missing the larger point that he should not have to have explained to him, that this should not be a lesson that someone who's running for president of the United States should have to be given.
If the currency of politics was sanctimony and not votes, Cory Booker would be president for life. He's got more sanctimony than the rest of them put together. But it's not. But looking on at this feud, the rest of the Democratic field smelled blood. Biden was wounded, so they whipped around and attacked him too. Watch.
I think to be singing the praises of people who were vicious segregationists is not something that anybody...
But he was talking about working with them. Is that the same thing as singing their praises?
I'm not so sure about that.
To coddle the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
It's never okay to celebrate segregationists. Never.
Why on earth would a Democrat speak nostalgically of working with a segregationist?
What a strange moment this was. It was as if all of a sudden the press and the whole city of Washington woke up one morning and realized, wait a minute, Joe Biden personally knew and worked with supporters of segregation. Well, of course he did. He's a Democrat. For the entire history of Jim Crow, Democrats were the party of segregation. Guess who created it and maintained it and defended it? 101 members of Congress, for example, signed what was called the Southern Manifesto, supporting segregation in 1956, the year of the Little Rock Crisis. 99 out of 101 were Democrats. So, of course, Joe Biden caucused with segregationists and worked with them to pass legislation. Every single Democrat who has held national office in the 20th century has done the same, caucused alongside men who back segregation. John F. Kennedy did, Lyndon Johnson did, Al Gore did, Nancy Pelosi did. Doesn't mean they supported segregation, but they certainly made common cause with people who did. Even Barack Obama did. Barack Obama caucused with a segregationist. He was in the Senate alongside Robert Byrd of West Virginia. He was the senator who filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act. He was a recruiter for the KKK, not a momentary member. He was an exalted cyclops. He was a Klan recruiter. But that didn't stop Barack Obama from eulogizing Byrd at his funeral. Watch.
He was a Senate icon. He was a party leader. He was an elder statesman. And he was my friend. May God bless Robert C. Byrd.
There's Barack Obama at a Klan funeral. Guess who else was at the Klan funeral? Who is that behind Obama with the goofy smile? Look carefully. Yes, it's Kirsten Gillibrand. Back then, she was happy to follow the Democratic crowd, go to the Klan funeral along with everyone else. And now she's doing the same thing, denouncing Joe Biden for doing the very same thing that she did. Watch.
I don't think that you should be bragging about working on a bipartisan basis with segregationists.
Come on now. Let's be serious. Let's be honest about what's actually happening. Nobody, not even someone as dim as Kirsten Gillibrand, and that's saying a lot, actually thinks Joe Biden is a racist or he's nostalgic for segregation. Come on. Of course he's not, whatever his many faults. This isn't about Biden's feeling on race at all, but about the modern Democratic Party. The modern Democratic Party is the party of wokeness. Just as 80 years ago, they're still judging people's worth by their skin color. Now they're also judging based on sex and age and immigration status and sexual orientation too. On every one of those categories, Joe Biden is on the wrong side. His policy positions are irrelevant. Nobody cares. The party's ideological leaders literally can't stand the sight of him. He can't be the party's nominee for president. I'm sorry. He's an old white guy. Not allowed. And that's why they're erupting against him. It's why they'll keep doing it until he gets out of the race, which he will. You watch. Julian Epstein is a former chief counsel to